It's the year 1320. You just woke up. Congratulations, you survived the night. That's not a joke. Infant mortality is roughly 40%. If you're hearing this, you already beat the odds once. You're lying on a straw mattress crawling with lice. The room smells like smoke, livestock, and unwashed humans because all three are sharing the same space. Welcome to your life as a medieval peasant. And it's about to get worse. Let's start with who you are. You're a serf. That means you're not a slave, technically, but you're tied to the land. You can't leave. You can't choose your job. You can't marry without your lord's permission. You work land that isn't yours, grow food you can't keep, and pay taxes you didn't agree to. You own almost nothing, and legally, you're barely a step above property. But hey, at least you're not a slave, technically. Your day starts before sunrise. There's no alarm clock. The church bells wake you, and they control your entire schedule. You get up, eat a piece of dark bread if you have any left, and head to the fields. Your job is farming, and by farming, I mean back-breaking, sun-up to sundown, manual labor with tools that haven't improved in 500 years. No tractor, no plow horse if you're poor. Just you, a wooden stick, and dirt. Let's talk about what you eat. Your diet is roughly 90% bread and pottage, a thick soup made of whatever vegetables you can find. Cabbage, onions, turnips, sometimes beans if you're lucky. Meat is rare. You're not allowed to hunt. That's the Lord's forest. If you're caught poaching a deer, you could lose a hand, or worse. You drink ale instead of water, not because you're a medieval party animal, but because the water will literally kill you. Speaking of things that will kill you, let's talk about hygiene. You bathe maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Your teeth are rotting because sugar, while rare, isn't the problem. Grit from stone-ground flour wears your enamel down to nothing. Your clothes are made of rough wool that you've been wearing for months. Fleas, lice, and bedbugs are constant companions. And the smell, imagine a room of people who haven't showered since spring. That's your entire village, all year. Now let's talk about your health. There are no doctors, not real ones. The village healer uses a combination of herbs, prayers, and guesswork. If you get a deep cut, it will probably get infected. If it gets infected, you will probably die. The concept of germs won't exist for another 500 years. Common treatments include bloodletting, draining your blood to balance your humors, and trepanning, drilling a hole in your skull to release evil spirits. These are considered cutting-edge medicine. If you're a woman, your life is even harder. You're expected to work the fields alongside the men and also cook, clean, raise the children, make the clothes, and tend the livestock. Childbirth is the leading cause of death for women. There's no pain relief, no sterile environment, no trained midwife in most cases. If something goes wrong, and it often does, there is nothing anyone can do. You'll have an average of 6 to 8 pregnancies. Many of those children won't survive past age 5. Let's talk about the law. Justice in medieval Europe is creative. If you're accused of a crime, you might face trial by ordeal. This means you could be forced to hold a red-hot iron bar. If your hand heals cleanly in 3 days, you're innocent. God has spoken. If it doesn't heal cleanly, you're guilty. Other options include being thrown into a river. If you float, you're guilty because the pure water rejected you. If you sink, you're innocent. Also drowned, but innocent. Your Lord controls almost every aspect of your life. You owe him labor, usually 3 days a week, working his fields before you can work your own. You owe him a portion of everything you grow. You owe him fees to use his mill, his oven, and his wine press, even though you built them. If you want to marry, you pay a fee.
If your daughter wants to marry outside the manor, you pay a bigger fee. And if you die, your family owes him your best animal as a death tax. Religion isn't optional. The church controls your moral life, your calendar, your holidays, and a significant portion of your income through tithes, 10% of everything you produce. You attend Mass every Sunday, in Latin, a language you don't speak or understand. You're told the world is full of demons, that suffering is God's test, and that your reward comes after death. Conveniently, the people telling you this live considerably better than you do. Let's talk about what you know and what you don't. You've never seen a map. You can't read. You can't write. You've probably never traveled more than 15 miles from the village you were born in. You have no idea how big the world is. You don't know what's on the other side of the ocean, or that there is another side. Your entire understanding of reality comes from the church and from village gossip. It's the year 1320, and your world is 20 square miles wide. And then, the plague arrives. It's now 1347. You hear rumors from travelers. Something terrible is spreading from the east. Within 2 years, the Black Death will kill between 30 and 60% of Europe's population. You don't know what causes it. Nobody does. Some say it's bad air. Some say it's God's punishment. Some blame foreigners. There is no cure, no treatment, no escape. You watch your neighbors die. Your family dies. And there is absolutely nothing you can do. Now, if you survive the plague, something remarkable happens. Labor becomes scarce. Suddenly, peasants have bargaining power for the first time in centuries. Wages rise, conditions improve slightly, some serfs gain freedom. The feudal system begins to crack, not because of ideology or revolution, but because so many people died that the survivors became valuable. It took the worst catastrophe in human history to give peasants basic negotiating power. That's the medieval economy for you. Let's talk about entertainment, because it wasn't all misery. Peasants celebrated feast days, sometimes over 50 a year, with ale, dancing, and games. Football existed, sort of. It was a chaotic mob game between villages with almost no rules and frequent injuries. Storytelling was central to village life. Traveling performers, jugglers, and musicians passed through occasionally. And alehouses were the social centers, medieval pubs where gossip, arguments, and community happened. Life was brutal, but it wasn't joyless. Your life expectancy, if you survive childhood, is roughly 40 to 50 years. But that number is misleading. You won't die of old age at 50. You'll die of infection, disease, famine, or violence well before then. Winter is the most dangerous season. Cold, hunger, and illness combine to kill the weakest. If you make it to 60, you're considered ancient, a village elder. You've outlived most of the people you grew up with. Now here's the part that connects to everything we talk about on this channel. The Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, didn't live in the medieval period. They came 1,000 years earlier. But the world they described, full of suffering, injustice, and things beyond your control, was the world medieval peasants lived in every single day. When Epictetus said there are things you can control and things you cannot, he wasn't speaking abstractly. He was describing survival. Medieval peasants couldn't control the weather, the plague, the Lord, or the law, but they could control how they faced it. They built communities, they celebrated when they could, they endured what they had to. And many of them, without ever reading a word of philosophy, lived more stoically than most people do today. Not because they chose to, because they had no other option. Comfort wasn't available, so resilience wasn't a philosophy, it was a survival strategy. The next time you're stressed about Wi-Fi being slow, or a meeting running long, or someone leaving you on red, Remember that 800 years ago, someone your age was watching their village die of plague, eating cabbage soup for the 400th day in a row, and sleeping next to a goat. And they got up the next morning and did it again. Not because they were brave, because that's all there was. History doesn't just tell us what happened, it tells us what we're capable of enduring. And it gives us perspective, the kind of perspective that no self-help book can match. If a medieval peasant could survive the Black Death with no medicine, no information, and no freedom, you can survive Monday. If this gave you perspective, watch our Stoicism breakdown next. We've also covered the psychology of manipulation, narcissistic abuse, and why caring less is the strongest thing you can do, all connected to the same question: how do you survive a world that doesn't care about you? Links are below.